Hey, it's A Humble Collector here. In today's video, we're taking a look at the two-panel death card of Hans Geiger. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So right off the bat, just a picture of Mary on the back, no text. And then moving to the card itself, I ask you one thing, that you remember me in your prayers. Prayer souvenir to Hans Geiger, a Gefreiter in an infantry communication battalion, who died a heroic death in Africa on May 30th, 1942, at the age of 21. Now, what's interesting about this card is that when I initially did my research, I didn't find anything. But this is a pro tip for those of you researching your death cards at home. Sometimes cards will show up under the name Hans, but Hans is also a nickname for Johann or Johannes. So when I initially searched for this card, I looked under Hans, didn't find anything. But when I looked under Johann, I did. I found a casualty record that actually ties him pretty significantly to some interesting stuff in Africa. So Johann was born on September 28th, 1921 in Wolfratshausen, which is by Munich. And he was a Gefreiter in the Command Communications Staff of Panzer Armee Afrika. And if I am reading that correctly, or interpreting that correctly, that means that he was on the communications staff for the entire African Panzer Army, which means that he probably was transmitting orders directly from Rommel to some of the other units that made up the army. Correct me if I'm wrong there, if I'm misreading what that unit is that's on this casualty record, but that seems to be my interpretation, which is super cool. I think that makes him the only member of like a general staff that I've managed to find in my collection so far through my research. And so being tied to the African campaign also makes this super cool, which once again shows how important research is from these cards, because you would not be able to gain any of that information otherwise. Now, according to the card, he was killed, or he was severely wounded by a direct artillery hit to his left upper chest, 25 kilometers south of Acroma, Libya, and would die the next day of that wound. So again, that kind of makes sense. If he was in like the Army command area, a shell came in, and he was wounded and eventually died as a result. That all kind of tracks. Now, moving to the bottom of the card here, I know you will weep bitterly that I sank so far away into my grave, where only the silent stars shine down into my dark tomb. But one day death comes to everyone and breaks love's tender bond. Where would I have fallen more gloriously than fighting loyally for God and fatherland? My beautiful death, my great happiness. So, my dears, don't cry. I am with God. I am with you. See you again in the kingdom of heaven. My Jesus, mercy. So yeah, super cool card. I have very few cards from the African campaign, and like I said, having one tied potentially to the Army command staff of the Panzer Army is just super cool. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.